everyone. Welcome back to the RePHIL studio. This is your host, SB4. This is your weekly Bang Dream podcast giving you the best up-to-date information on upcoming news and updates to the franchise, as well as give you insight from prominent community members sharing their experiences and stories about the game. As always, feel free to check out our website, links in the description below, on how you could support the podcast either by joining the YouTube membership program or by subscribing to my Twitch channel. All Filler Nation members can listen to the RePHIL Studio podcast recordings live while they're happening. But of course, feel free to join the Discord server. Anyone's welcome to interact with special guests and join a really fun community. So hope to see you there. This news corner will feature some pretty exciting updates to come. So we'll talk quite a bit about JPdori and ENdori, but we do have two special guests for our studio who will be joining us very soon. So I'm going to try and keep this weekly news corner as brief as possible to give them a bit of time. So let's start off with the weekly news corner and share some of the exciting updates that are coming. All right, so let's talk about JPdori first, as we always do. So if you listened to my last episode of the podcast, I tried to predict what were going to be the upcoming updates or upcoming events for JPdori in the schedule. Turns out I was very wrong. Instead, we have a full Afterglow event. It is a team live event, and it's cool attribute focused. It's called Scribble in the Blue. This event features 4-star Mocha and 4-star Ron as the gacha focus. And yeah, it's a team live event, new song, new Afterglow song, and it's actually only been about 3 months since the last full Afterglow event. So Afterglow getting another event, great for them. They always, for whatever reason, seem to precede a full Poppin' Party event like last time. So yeah, good stuff on them to get another event. That does mean I am quite wrong in my prediction, and there's going to be one event between now and the Razor Sulan Band Story 2. Again, I'm still fully expecting it's going to be a Roselia, most likely. Maybe the mixed event that I theorize is probably not going to happen. So again, I'm not going to say two more because I could just be completely wrong and just completely mess this up in my predictions and look like a fool. But either way, there is currently the Afterglow Team Live event right now. So yeah, so we'll see how it goes with the schedule. Again, I'm looking forward to most likely seeing some year-end covers as well for JPdori soon. But for the time being, we're probably going to be in a loop of a bunch of full band stories, which is certainly still very good to see. In addition, JPdori is introducing this new update, this V5.8 update, and this update adds this low latency mode. So this low latency mode apparently introduces this technology called Sonic Sync, which will presumably reduce the amount of delay that will happen between when you tap, okay, and when the effect is actually registered. So basically, like, this will affect people's timing and the sound effect that comes out, right, to sort of register that yes, you did indeed tap the note. So for some people, this might be a welcome addition because maybe they don't really like the latency timing of Bandori. So having this mode turn on may be able to help them improve their gameplay. Some people, I'm not sure, it may affect them. It may not work that well, and they would rather turn it off, which is certainly doable. It's a toggle function, so you could certainly turn it on or off at any point. I'm personally not familiar with the Sonic Sync technology. I'm not sure if other rhythm games in the past have used this technology before, but if you have experience with it, or you're playing JPdori right now and you've played out with this toggle on, and you can share your experiences about it in the comments below. I personally haven't heard too much from players personally about this, but eventually it's going to be added in ENdori, most likely, sometime next year. So maybe we'll all be able to eventually test it out and see how well it works. So that's a pretty interesting, unique change that they're actually introducing some sort of low latency toggle mode in the game. So turning to ENdori, ENdori right now, the current event is a Spur to Teamwork, which is the VS Live featuring Toko and Ron. In my previous episode, I did mention that the New Year's event was most likely going to be delayed. It was supposed to be the next event, but it's going to be delayed because of the Dreamfest that was supposed to come with it, and that was supposed to come with the 4.10 update. So, yep, we're skipping events again, and we have a VS Live that was supposed to happen next year, but it's now happening in November of this year, which is, pretty interesting. But, that's just kind of how it is, right? We have to kind of deal with it. We've talked about this plenty of times. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, because if you guys stay tuned, or if you guys follow the official Bang Dream Twitter account for ENdori, you'll notice that they've actually fully revealed the DoReMi Hello Happy collab event. And it's going to be happening on November 26th. Now, data miners a couple days prior were able to find some logging campaigns for the collabs to indicate that this was going to happen on November 26th, and ENdori has officially confirmed it. So as you can see, if there's a big event coming up, there's always going to be promotional marketing material for it. So now we see that, which means a couple of things. One, wow, we actually got the licensing for the DoReMi collab, which is great. That's something I feared a lot, but it seems like they were able to figure that out. And two, this also means that the 4.10 update might actually be ready. And because the main reason why this was delayed was because of the 4.10 update. So the fact that now the event is coming out means 4.10 update's coming very soon, which also means other events like the aforementioned New Year's Dreamfest and Band Story 3s, like Title Idol and One of Us. So looks like the update is finally coming to fruition, and we'll look forward to making up some events that we skipped in the near future. Now, I cannot say how exactly this schedule is going to look. I don't know if One of Us is going to be immediately after this event, or perhaps they're still going to add a little few events here and there and then slowly transition to the Band Story 3s. But we'll see how it goes. So stay tuned to another episode, because most likely next episode we'll be talking about most likely what will be the next event after the DoReMi collab. For those who are unaware about the DoReMi collab, let's briefly talk about what we're expecting to see in the DoReMi collab starting on November 26th. So first of all, we have two cover songs that we'll have to keep in mind, but that will be added to the game. The first one is Ojamajo Carnival, which is covered by Hello Happy World. I believe this is the very first opening to the anime series. And there's another song called Dance Ojamajo, which is actually, I believe, the 4th season opening. That will be covered by Pasta Palettes. So two new cover songs that we were able to get into the game, which is obviously really, really nice. Of course, there's going to be limited gacha, so with these limited costumes, and all of them look really adorable in the Hello Happy World in these costumes. So for those who are saving stars for this collab, I think your time has come, and best wishes on your gacha adventures, because of course these cards are definitely looking really nice. There's also going to be a logging campaign. So the data miners already mentioned there was going to be some pre-event logging campaign where there's going to be a few small stars that we've already data mined. But during the collab, there's also going to be a logging campaign of up to 2,500 stars, which is exactly 110 pull. The first login, you're going to get 1,000 stars, and then it will slowly accumulate up to 2,500. So a lot of stars for everyone. This is looking really good. A lot of opportunities to get more stars here. There's also going to be a Marina's gift box where this Maho Do. So you're gonna exchange. You're gonna collect Maho Dama, which are the Marina coins, to exchange them for Maho Do, which are prizes. It's the usual prizes that we normally see in Marina's gift box. But there's also going to be some exclusive titles that you could look into. And also, because we are under a new Marina's gift exchange box that requires only 7 coins per box, this is actually going to be new and different from JPdori, where their exchanges were a little bit more expensive with 10 coins. So we're probably going to follow the 7 coin exchange boxes, which means they're cheaper and most likely easier to get these prizes. So that's obviously a big bonus. So great stuff. That's a really exciting change. That will be for the better in this case. And then there's also going to be opportunity for a collab mission where you can collect an exclusive Kokoro costume, as well as cans for boosts that will have a special branding to it called Oi Cola. So, pretty interesting there. So a lot of things that are happening during this event that's happening next week. So definitely looking forward to that, to the collab. I believe, lastly, before we move on, I believe there was also mentions where there's going to be a special star campaign of paid stars, because this event so happens to happen during Black Friday, which is a really big event in the Americas, where everything is on sale and such. So I think I don't think it's a coincidence that Bushiro was trying to maybe time the DoReMi collab with Black Friday, because they know they're going to get a lot of stonks, a lot of money, and perhaps combining the two events together can really incentivize people to spend some money, especially after what they've had to deal with for the past couple of months with their scheduling and lack of transparency. But I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's definitely somewhat planned, in my personal opinion. But either way, collab coming, which means Bandori 3 should also be coming very soon, and hopefully before the end of the year. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you're most excited about this collab that's coming up, as well as the fact that most likely the Bandori 3s and version 4.10 will be coming very, very soon. So let me know what you guys think about that. Let's move on and welcome our special guests to the studio. We have two lovely guests that will join us very soon. So looking forward to having a great conversation with them, and we will see you there. Want to support the RePHIL studio? Check out our website. Links in the description below. Here you can learn more about the podcast as a whole, as well as complete our feedback form to give comments about how we can improve the project, as well as suggest any future special guests that you would like to see on the studio. You can also learn more about how you could support the podcast by joining the Filler Nation, either through a Twitch subscription or joining the YouTube membership below. Thanks again to the Filler Nation members for your constant support, and a reminder that all Filler Nation members can access the podcast live when they are recording in the Unga Academy Discord server. We hope to see you there. Welcome back, everyone. As always, let's refill to 99 as let's begin this next set. I have the greatest pleasure of having two special guests today for the RePHIL studio, welcoming Emi and Pastry to the studio. Pastry, familiar with the surroundings here, but Emi for the first time. And thank you both of you for taking the time to join the studio today.
Thank you. It's our pleasure to be here.
Hello, yes, thank you for having us.
So usually I would do a quick introduction for both of you, and one of the notable achievements is very recently in the Prismatic Duo event. Both of our lovely guests here got top 1 and top 2, Pastry and Emi respectively, in the event. And usually I would have the guests introduce themselves and add a bit more to that. I'm going to do something a little different. Pastry, why don't you, in your words, introduce Emi to our listeners here, and what are her notable things that you would like to point out?
Well, I would be happy to do so. So Emi is, as many are probably aware, and if you're not aware, you'll get to find out for the first time, is my wonderful girlfriend of about a little over a year and a half at this point, and also a very notable tier in her own right. Alongside this Prismatic T2, she's pretty notable for also being the Valentine's Pasupare event T1 and a very big Hina stan, and devotedly towards my dream T2 as well, along with a host of other titles that would take way too long to get into. But all in all, that is my lovely girlfriend.
Great intro.
I'm red.
the I'm red expression is back. And I know again for our viewers, they might be pretty familiar with Pastry already. But Emi, what else would you like to add if you were to introduce Pastry to our viewers here?
I don't know. I think everyone's pretty aware that he's a pretty big whale in the
Oh,
community.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm
You
glad
have
I could.
too many titles. He's got like I think like 5 now, 5 T1s in total. I think, right? Because there's 2 song T1s, and then he has 3 event ones. I think that's
Yep,
5.
that's right.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, again, both of you, big welcome to the studio once more. And as Pastry already mentioned, Emi, you are a big Hina stan, but even before you became a Hina stan, maybe share a little bit of how you got into Bandori and how Hina ended up becoming basically your favorite character of the franchise.
I got into it pretty randomly because I was before Bang Dream, I was playing Love Live, the school
Mhm.
idol festival, but I quit, I think, because my phone couldn't fit the storage anymore. So then I think once I got an iPad for school, I was asking my friend, "Oh, what games should I download?" And she was like, "Oh, I play this game with my other friends. Like, you should try it out because you played Love Live. It's called Bang Dream. I can add you to like a group chat with like my other friends, and we can all talk about Bang Dream." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, I've never played it like rhythm games super seriously before, and not really I'm not really too good with talking or, like, meeting people in general. I'm pretty quiet, but she added me to the group chat anyway, and it was a it was a lot smaller than I expected. She said it was like, "Oh, it's just a small group chat," but it was literally, like, 4 of us in total afterwards, and I was like, "Why did you add me here?" 'Cause it was Pastry and Ingo, and then it was me, and then it was her, and Pastry and Ingo get pretty, like, intense with their Bandori talk, and I just freshly downloaded a game, so I was like, "Oh my god, what are they talking about?" They would be talking about, like, high score rating, and they'd be like, "Oh, this team is good for this," and I'd be like, "I don't know how to build anything. I don't know how to play this game. I have no idea what they're talking about." And I just, like, sat there, and I did not talk, like, at all. I think I started liking Hina because I got her card first, her 4-star. I think it was Twin Stars because I think I downloaded the game right after Twin Stars ended. So and then I was like, "Oh, she's really pretty, and I really like stars," and her card has a lot of, like, astronomy based. So I started reading, like, Hina stories, and then I started reading Pasupade stories, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're so cute, I love them." I think that's mostly it.
Well, yeah, again, Hina definitely is one of those very charismatic characters. Very, as we all know, boppin. So that's definitely very contagious. I was just gonna ask, if whether or not these friends in that small friend group still or that group chat still played the game, but you already answered that, and we already know the answer. They
Yeah.
very religiously still play this game.
I think my old friend doesn't play anymore, but
Mhm.
Pastry and Ingo are, very into the game.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, we both just got T1s pretty recently. Actually, back to back, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, back to back T1s. Ingo definitely will have a lot to talk about, maybe in the future about that recent T1. But switching over again to topics here. I know Pastry, you already mentioned your favorite character, which of course
Mhm.
is Sayo. Um, I didn't give you an opportunity in the last episode that you were here to talk about your particular sort of affection for an interaction between two particular characters, which are some of your favorite characters as well, which is Aya and Sayo. Maybe you could take the time to share a little bit more about your favorite parts about their interaction with these two particular characters who are not really normally seen together.
Oh, so Aya and Sayo specifically, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to talk about that. So, yeah, I know I talked a lot about Sayo in I think the first podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really talk too much about Aya back then.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess like Aya actually was one of my favorite characters early on, even though I didn't expect her to be,
Mm-hmm.
because I think I mentioned in the previous podcast, I'm not very big on the idol scene as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed reading Pasupati stories because when I got around to the point where I was reading them, Aya really stood out to me a lot because she is both idealistic, which I think is a really nice trait to have, and someone who works towards achieving that idealism as well. You know, she really doesn't like take things for granted too much, but she definitely can be a bit um, overly idealistic at times, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily a bad trait to have. And so it's kind of interesting having someone like Aya very who's who's very different in terms of that mindset compared to Saya, who I think I've mentioned is a lot more realistic when it comes to her goals, and in some cases almost pessimistic about herself as a whole. And so they both ended up being my favorite characters for two completely different reasons. And so I was always thinking like it would be nice to have some interactions between them, and I didn't really know that there was much between them because as far as I was aware, the only thing they had prior to Karuta was Tanzaku, and in like the Tanzaku story itself, it was really just a little bit of like interaction when they run into each other
Mm-hmm.
in like Aya's workplace. But because I was consuming stories at the time, I happened to look at, I believe it was Aya's card story, and
Mm-hmm.
I got an interaction there between Aya and Sayo, where I found out that Aya is actually also an older sister. And it was really interesting because suddenly there was a dynamic there that I hadn't really thought about before. And I got this opportunity to see Aya and Sayo talking with each other about what it's like being a big sister and how they see their little sisters and the expectations that their sisters or like their siblings have on them and what it means to be a big sister. And that was kind of what kickstarted the whole dynamic for me and
Mm-hmm.
why I was like, oh, actually, there might be more to this than I thought there would be. So I was always waiting for that's kind of what I guess started my interest in Aya and Saya as a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Not like romantic relationship, but as a dynamic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always waiting for that event to happen. And, you know, Karta came around and I got to see exactly that. And now it's
Mm-hmm.
just, you know, they're still pretty rare, but I really like the dynamic that they have with one being so goal oriented with like Sayo, where she comes across a problem and she already is thinking, how should I approach this? What can I do to get to this point? Versus Aya, who always has the idealistic aspect in mind, like what's the best that we can achieve, right? And so it's kind of like together they kind of complement each other in that sense. So
Yeah.
that aspect definitely appeals to me very much.
For sure, for sure. Rare pears are definitely, for all people who consume rare pears, it's always like, you try to find little crumbs here and there to try and fill your satisfaction. But I would have to agree with you, Pastry. Like, I think part of the reason why I like Aya so much, even though she's like so different from Sayo, is I guess just because of their differences as well. And they're both very hard workers, but in completely different ways. And they're just such a
Hmm.
unique dynamic. And I always when I see Aya for the first time, I was like, oh, I really want to root for her. So, yeah, yeah. Are there any times where there's like disagreements on pairings between you two, or it's just kind of like, yeah, we just kind of leave it at that?
Um, I don't think there's usually disagreements. Mostly probably because I don't feel like super strongly about
Fair, fair,
pairings.
fair.
Yeah, same. For me, it's like there's nothing really that I'm like actively against
Mm-hmm.
or anything as far as like dynamics go.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's just and I've said this before, I think there's 35 best girls in this franchise. So any interactions between them is like fine by me, and I always feel that there's just like a new facet of a relationship to see when people that don't normally talk or when uh, dynamics that aren't normally explored come up. But I also like seeing new additions to familiar dynamics too,
For sure.
because I think it's also good to see that these relationships don't necessarily stay stagnant. There's always some growth to the relationship as well.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. So we'll see again how stories and characters continue to develop as the franchise continues to grow. We'll see. We'll see how further of these interactions grow and develop as the time goes. Let's jump into a little bit more into, I guess, our expertise here, which is of course into tiering. Emi, I want to. I think I already kind of know the direction of where this is going, but maybe share a little bit more about how you first started getting into tiering and the first event that you really started, you kind of consider to be a serious tiering attempt.
I guess my first tiering experience ever would be Summer Party. So I think that was an Aya event actually. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I don't remember what I was going for. I think I said T100, and then I think I actually decided on it like maybe a few days in advance, and I was like, oh, like telling Pastry like, oh, I'm gonna tier Summer Party, and he was like, oh, like the one that that's coming up in a few days, and I was like, yeah, and he's like, how high are you going? I'm like, probably T100, and then I think I played like 8 or 9 hours at the start, and I was like, do you think this is good enough for T100? And he was like, most T100s do not play like 8 or 9 hours at the start. And I was like, oh, that's fine. And I was like all the way at like 17th, and he was like, why are you still playing? It was like 4 a.m. and I was like, I don't know. Like maybe I can pass like 16th. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. It seems fine. And then I think I just like played a lot just because I was like, oh, maybe I can pass the person above me. And then I think I finished. I didn't finish, but I was pausing around like 13th or so, and Pastry was at first he was like, "Oh, you should go for 13th, because that's the Taylor Swift number." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I should." And then later on, like there were people found out there was a hacker in T10, and then he was like, "You know, it'd be so funny, like if you tried like to go for T11, and then the hacker got banned, so you get T10." And I was like, "Oh my god, do you think I can? Do you think I can?" And he was like, "I don't know, you can try." And I was like, "Oh my god, maybe I should, maybe I should." And he was like, "Oh, wait. Like, no, wait. I don't think, like, are you actually considering this?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Like, I don't know how to tier, but this seems fun." And like at this time, I didn't know how to build teams either. Honestly, I don't remember what team I was running to get this score, but I was getting like 4K points like around there each game. And I don't know what team I was running to get that. But I was just like pubbing, and it was like pretty hard because I was like 12, and I think the person in 11th, I think it was Iku. I don't remember.
It was Iku, yeah.
Yeah, it was really stressful because I didn't know what I was doing, right? So, and I think she was in a tiering server, or like it was a verse live, so it didn't really matter. And I would just like really badly track how fast she was going, and I was like, yeah, this is like impossible. Like I play like I think like 2 hours, and then she can catch up to me in like 30 minutes, like in her own like room. Like it's kind of impossible. And I think Pastry was asleep, and I was having like my breakdown, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna do this anymore. And he woke up and he was like, what the heck? And then he was like, do you want me to like invite you to the tiering server? And I was like, I don't know. Like, how does a tiering server work? Like, what if like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I've never even played like Bang Dream seriously before. But then I don't know. I think he pulled some like strings and then like got me into the tiering server. And I just like sat
Pulling
at
strings in this case means I asked Hawk and Movie, do you mind if I invite this person into the tiering server? They're my friend. And he's like, yeah, sure. That was it.
Yeah, but it was pretty fun in the tiering server because I've never been there before, and like I think I was mostly rooming with Hawk, so it was like my first experience meeting Hawk too. And he's like a super chill person. He was just like, yeah, and he kept like pausing and everything and doing like his own thing. It was pretty fun, and I ended up with tier 11, and then I think the hacker got banned. I think half an hour or so after the event ended. Like at first he didn't get banned or didn't get banned. So I was like, oh, it's okay. Like this is a good experience for next time. And they got banned. And I was like, oh my God, they got banned. Yeah, I think later on when I like started getting more into tiering, like I saw the tracking sheet and I just like looked at my column and it was just completely gray because I was never in T10 once until the end. So it was like, these hours look very nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I distinctly remember that too, because I think I remember just telling you like so many times early on in the event, okay, you're like so safe for T100 at this point, you really don't need to keep playing. And then you were just like, I want to keep playing. I want to keep
Yeah,
playing.
he kept saying like, oh, what are you aiming for? I'm like, I don't know, T100. Do you think this is enough? And he was like, you're way over. Like, you're way over what you need to be. And I was like, are you sure? Should I keep playing?
And at some point, I was just like, okay, it's clear that you're gonna keep playing anyway. So I figure if you're gonna keep playing, you might as well just go for something interesting. And so that's why I was like, oh, you should just go for T11, and we'll see what happens if the hacker gets banned. And then it worked out.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's a really annoying thing that happened during that event though? I'm still really like angry, or not angry, like annoyed by this, but like I lost like $100 worth of stars because I don't remember what happened. I think it was my credit card wasn't linked properly and I had like a balance in my Apple account already or something. But like I clicked purchase in the game and then it didn't give me my stars, but it like took my money. So I emailed Bushi and I was like, hey, I didn't get my stars. Like, can you refund me? And they were like, oh, contact Apple. So I contacted Apple. I'm like, hey, so like I purchased stars and I didn't get them. And I emailed them and they told me to email you. Can I get my money back? And they were like, no, that's in the app. You have to email Bushi. And I was like, yeah, I did email Bushi, but they told me to email you. And they're like, well, it's in the app. We can't really do anything. So then I emailed back Bushi and I was like, hey, like Apple said they can't refund me. Can I get my, like, can you give me stars? Like I can give you like a screenshot of my purchase history. Like I didn't get the stars, so I don't know what to do. And they were like, no, we can't see your purchase. I'm like, okay, but I'm showing you the purchase now. Here's the history. Here's a screenshot. And they're like, yeah, but we can't see that. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm showing you like right now. And they're like, no, we can't help you. You have to email Apple. And I was like, what? Like, what am I even supposed to do? So then I just gave up and I was like, you know what? This is like, I think you guys are literally just repeating the same things back to me. I'm just going to let this one go. And also, I was like, should I just charge back on my credit card? But then I was scared that they would like block my account and not lock me out. So I was like, you know what? Goodbye to my G. That's fine. It was really sad.
Indeed. Goodbye indeed. But that event, it kind of definitely triggered some gorilla instincts and some whale instincts in you. Just like suddenly, like, you know what, I'm gonna go for my first top 100, and then like accidentally just kind of sneak your way into the T10. That's crazy. That's honestly really crazy. I also find it really hilarious that Hawk just like allowed you in the server when you're like kind of sniping, but not really. So that was like pretty funny as well.
I think Movie was T1, but it was really funny because I roomed with him for like in almost all my rooms, and then at the very end he was like, "Who's T11?" And I'm like, "What?" Like we've been talking like the entire time. And he was like, "Who's T11?" He was like, "Oh my God, congrats! Thanks for like rooming with me." And I was like, "Oh, no problem, I think."
I was like, Movie, what are you talking about? I literally told you this.
Yeah, like I think when Pastry was getting me in, he was literally like, I'm inviting the T11 in, but at the end Movie was still like, who's T11?
Well, that's how it is. But again, big shout outs to Pastry for helping you get that get into the server, and you know, with those last fills before you get that first tiering experience, and end up being a one less zero than you thought it was. So yeah, big.
Funny
big
how
shout
that
outs to
happens.
Yeah.
I
It
think the
really
same thing
did.
actually happened with me when I was going
Yeah.
for Neo aspect. I originally just
Mhm.
planned for T1K, and then
Mhm.
I just ended up in T100 by the end of it, anyways.
Mhm. Yeah. So it
Seems
kind
to
of
be a
passes
trend.
along. Yeah, it could be a trend. Who knows? That next person could be like, maybe I'll get a low T10 and accidentally get T1. Maybe.
Oh god.
That'd be kind of strange, but we'll see. We'll see. Uh, Pacer, speaking of T1s, you've gotten quite a few titles yourself since the last time we spoke. Actually, it's funny because it hasn't felt like a long time ago, but it's been actually 3 months since we last had you in the podcast. A lot has happened in 3 months, so maybe share a little bit about some of the titles you've achieved since the last time we spoke.
I'm pretty sure the last time we spoke was Dignified, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
I actually only have one new event title since then, and it just happens to be Prismatic T1. So I don't really mind talking about that. But I also
What about
uh,
the event literally right after? See, letter from the sea.
oh, that's right, I forgot.
You've
Wait,
had
how did I
so
Oh
many
forget about
titles
that?
you don't even remember.
it was you back to back too. Like, how did you
Oh
forget
yeah, that's
about
right.
that?
That's a great point. I totally forgot about that. I guess because like actually the funny thing about that is we actually did letters together too. M was the T2 for that event.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I guess we could talk about letters too.
Yeah,
But
yeah. What?
letters was pretty chill
Mm-hmm.
compared to dignified. I think we like I was playing with work, but even then I
Mm-hmm.
was just like it wasn't it wasn't like competitive or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of played and did it and like played when we can, and there wasn't really like anything to talk about. I don't know. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
anything that really stood out to you?
Uh, I don't think so. I just remember like feeling kind of stressed out because you kept passing out. And I was like, stop passing out, please play. You would be like at like T5 or something or T6, and I'd be like, I know you can get there, but please just ease my anxiety and get to me already, please.
Okay, in my defense, I still had work though, so like
Yeah, you would work, and then you would just like, I would just like, hello, it's Tier, and you'd be like, you'd be gone, you'd be like out like a light, and I'd be hello.
I mean, it's just one of the things where like I didn't really feel like a lot of pressure when
Fair,
playing
fair.
because there wasn't really a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, oh, I can catch up later. I don't necessarily need to force myself to go hard right now, and so I just didn't.
Mm-hmm. Fair, fair, fair. I guess then to add to that, right? Because again, you both of you tiered together for Letters of the Sea, and then eventually later both of you tiered for Prismatic Duo, which of course was the most relatively recent event. How did that go? Like in terms of your overall experience, I imagine there was at least a little bit more stress there, right?
Oh yeah. Where do we even start with prismatic?
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I was
Um,
stressing about Prismatic like so long, like weeks before it happened. It was really
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
bad.
I think the main thing with prismatic was that we honestly just didn't really know when it was gonna come
Mm-hmm.
because of this whole issue with the update and one of us being delayed and Oja module being delayed. I kind of set up like a idea of like what timeframes I could see the event coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried to like plan our time off around that. Um, but ultimately we didn't really plan out well enough because like I think we both had to put our time off in fairly early. So at the
Uh,
time when we put in our time off, we were still thinking like, oh, there's still a chance for one of us to come
I
before
think
then and
I
Ojamaja to come before then. And so we should put it in for like around this time period. And then neither one came, so it ended up coming like 2 weeks early or something.
I think we put it in maybe about a month or so before we thought it would come because we were like, "Oh, like, this update will they can't screw up that badly to, like, make it like a full month, right? Like after a month, they should have everything under control. After a month, they did not have everything under control.
No.
So I
Woe
think
is indeed us.
yeah, like I took time off from Prismatic's original plan, and I was like, do you think I should take like the no limit time just in case like it gets shifted one event early? And Pastry was like, I think that would be safe enough. And then it wasn't safe enough.
It
It
was
was not safe
it
enough.
was quite different. How did you end up kind of arranging that? You didn't?
I didn't. Because I ended up with because work was really busy like for these last couple of weeks. So I originally had I think like a 20-hour work week the week during Prismatic. And then I think a week or two before like the new Prismatic deadline in, it got shifted to like 40 hours. And then I was like, wait, so I'm working 40 hours during Prismatic? Like that makes oh my god, I was so stressed out. I was like, should I just drop? I'm just gonna drop now. I don't think I can do this. This is like competitive too. There's no way I can do like a competitive T2 working 40 hours. That's oh my god.
Yeah, I think that was like mainly like the big issue for us with Prismatic's timing, because at least for me, I still had to work 40 hours during the event, but since I work from home, I can kind of get away with playing at work if I need to. Not that I want to do that or I should be doing that, but I could do it if I really needed to. So I figured I at least had some leeway to work with, but with Em, since she has to like actually go to a workplace, like there wasn't really like any way around it. And so it was kind of like leading up to the event, we were both just pretty stressed and depressed. It
Stressed
was
and
like
depressed.
it was just like, we had this planned out for like a whole year and everything, and even with Prismatic, just the fact that the event existed was already like a, almost like a miracle to us. Because I had always been saying, oh, I want to tier like a Sayo and Hina event with you sometime, and Emi's favorite holiday is Christmas. And so I was saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could get like a Sayohina Christmas, even like a baby Sayohina Christmas, because I think that would make sense. And then like I think like maybe like a month or two after when I was talking about that is when the event itself got announced. So I was like, we have to do this. It's literally like the event that we've been wanting. So we made our server that very same day and have advertised it for a whole year, had our roster set in advance, and we had so much that we wanted to do at the event, and then just the timing completely threw everything off. So it was really stressful because I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I could still somehow manage to make it work, but the person that we were going against had literally never done anything T10 or higher before, and so we had no idea what to expect. We didn't know what to expect out of the server that they were running in. And I think at the time we were still thinking there was going to be 3 servers instead of like, and so like we had to account for like this server and then account for this other server, and it's like it was a pretty bleak outlook at the time. And so we were definitely in the position where we were just thinking. I know Em was saying, she was thinking a lot about just dropping outright, and I was saying, I'm still going to try for T1. I'm not going to force you into going for T2. I'm not going to tell you that you should drop. I think you should decide for yourself what you want to do, and whatever you want to do, I will support.
Yeah.
And look, and eventually decided, yeah, I'll decide to go for it, and we'll just see how it goes. And somehow things worked out.
Yeah. When the event first got announced, I was actually really nervous when I saw like at least like 4 or maybe even 5 servers. I was just like, oh man, that's like crazy. Obviously, as time passes and life happens, people have other plans and maybe things don't work out. So then eventually the competition dropped, and then but it was still like there was still a lot of competition for this particular event. It was something that we were all foreseeing and predicting. But I guess one thing that really shows with you two, right? The fact that despite all the odds against you, right? Literally Bushiroad screwing up your schedules, and I mean for Emi, unfortunately, this wasn't the first time that Bushiroad screwed her over. You
Oh
know,
my god.
so not only Bushiro is kind of like against it. There's a lot of competition. So again, at the end of the day, though, you two really kind of worked together and really made it work out in the end. So I just want to maybe ask the two of you, like, what really how important it really was to have not only the support from each other, but the support from your fellow friends, your fellow fillers in the server, as well as just being able to build that strong roster, sort of push yourselves and help each other get the goals that you need. Anyone can answer.
I thought you were going
You should take
first.
this one. You can take this one, Em. I talked too much
Yeah, I
already.
guess
so-
maybe your perspective, Emmy, especially when again, you were like very stressed and possibly were even thinking about dropping it. So how did the support that you got help you convince you to sort of change your mind and still end up getting that T2 in the end?
I think the first person I talked to was probably Evergreen. And I was telling him, oh, it was kind of funny because I was like, yeah, I'm working 40 hours. And he was like, after I semi-decided that I might go for it, and he was like, "Why would you go for it? You have work." And I was like, "'Cause I wanted to with pastry." And he was like, "Why? You have work." And I was like, "I wanna tour this event, man." And he was like, "Don't worry, I believe in your gorillaness." I'm like, "I literally can't because I have to work. What are you talking about?" And he was telling me, like, "I think you shouldn't, like, focus on the podium goal, but, like, think about why you're tiering this event, like, why you're tiering it." And I'm like, "'Cause I wanna tier with pastry, and I don't think there would be another event where we would actually be able to, like, T1, T2." And he was like, "Okay, then you should just focus on, like, tiering with pastry, like, don't focus on the podium." And that actually helped me a lot because, like, it helped calm me down a lot of times while I was tiering, where I was, "Okay, stop looking at the numbers, like, mute everything, close all the trackers, and just focus on, like, the people you're playing with and, like, the room that you're playing with." And it helped a lot with, like, me, like, calming down and actually being able to, like, focus on the game itself. And it was also really helpful just to, like, have my friends in my DMs where I was, like, screaming because that's what I do, and they were like, "Oh, it's okay, like, you got this, I'm behind you." But then, yeah, because of Prismatic's timing, it it happened at the same time as the Project Sekai event that, like, everyone was tearing, so that was, like, a lot harder to deal with too because the people that, like, usually I would be staying with or, like, rooming with, like, they were like, "Yeah, I have to tier this Sekai event, so, like, we can't really be together." So it was kinda like that was also kind of like a struggle. But I think the server, I think itself was a little bit quiet. So it was a little worrying, but, like, I'm really grateful for all the fillers that came in and all, like, everyone who came into VC, like, I think this happens with every event I do afterwards where I'm really, like, overly emotional about everyone who came out because I'm like, "Oh, I never expected, like, all these people to come out and, like, play with me and, like, talk to me," and I'm just like, "Oh, thank you so much, like, we barely even talked before, but you're here," and I'm like, "Thank you so much."
Yeah, I think especially for me too, I knew I had a good roster, um, but I was also but still with like a public server like Prismatic, you have a lot of like people that you don't necessarily have experience playing with before, and you don't really know how things are going to go. And there were definitely like a good amount of people in there that I either hadn't really been in tiering servers before, or I had never tiered with myself and just didn't really know what to expect out of. And like Em was saying, the server did seem like pretty quiet when the event actually came around, so I was kind of nervous that um, things would be kind of dead. But things we end up having a lot of really good fillers coming out, and everybody that we roomed with performed really well. And even for though we didn't have a lot of people, coming out, the people that we did have show up really pulled some insane hours to help us out, or would play well beyond what I would have expected out of people fulfilling, including you as well, Phil.
Oh, I didn't expect to hear that, but thank you.
And so, ultimately, I think we're both very grateful to everybody who came into the server and would just pull like insane hours to help fill for us. Obviously, it's versus life, so it's not like a necessity to have
Mhm.
full rooms, but we are still able to get full rooms or mostly full rooms anyways. And people would be so willing to just come and help and play with us until uh, we literally couldn't play anymore.
Mhm.
Especially down the stretch of like the final hours when some of us were literally dying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I was really also, like, grateful for the fact, like, our T10s played with us so much. Like, even when T10 was, like, pretty I think they stopped. Like, it was at the point where T10 wasn't really moving, but, like,
Mhm.
I think Crow and Cinna were still like, "Oh, don't worry, like, we'll come in, we'll, like, doormat, we'll, like, fill for you," and I was, like,
Mhm.
crying, and I was like, "Thank you, oh my god, you guys don't even have to play." Like,
Oh my
like,
god,
oh
and Nebi too. Nebi
my god,
literally
Shout outs to
filling
Nebi.
on his normal account and then on his other account.
And casually getting a T10 and a T100, and and it's crazy, absolutely bonkers. Yeah, the amount of support you two got towards your goal really, it really just showed at the end, and it really made the dream T1 T2 come true. So big congratulations once more on your achievements for both of you. Again, I think I could say as part of everyone who filled for and was part of your server, was we were very grateful to see that final result, and we're really happy to have helped you achieve your dreams on that event as well. Just a reminder that all special guests featured in the RePHIL studio can be found in the Unga Academy Discord server. Links in the description below. Join our great community who is very passionate about Bang Dream, tiering, and many other interests. And we have weekly community events as well as contests for people to complete through challenges. Of course, all Filler Nation members can access the podcast live when they're recording in this Discord server as well. So we hope to see you there. Now with the ENdori being a little a little less certain, right, with the schedule being all wonky and speed up and such, do you guys have any I guess high hopes of like how they'll be able to handle the events moving forward, and how that might affect your future plans of tiering?
Uh, I don't have any future plans. Um, I think before Prismatic, was announced, I was like, "Yeah, I am retiring. I am not dealing with this anymore. Like, I can't do this. Like, I can't just, like, not know what events like, I'm just gonna retire on the spot."
Mhm.
And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know if I wanna tier again. I kinda hate what they did to us."
Well, again, you had more than one bad experience, unfortunately. So,
God,
I
yeah, I don't
absolutely.
think, like I think yeah, I think Halloween got extended, and then,
Hmm.
when I did Devoto, that was, like, 12, 10 days, 11 days? I was like,
10 days, yeah.
"Why do you" Bushi hates me. Bushi actually just hates me. Like, I don't think anything has ever, like, gone, like, 100% any event I've ever done.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I guess before I let Pastry answer that, I just will maybe have you briefly answer this. Again, you have done a lot of events, and they're all had some like huge hiccups, right? Like the 12-day Rokaween event, Halloween event. There was the of course Devotedly as well. That was ridiculously long for whatever reason. Which event did you think personally was the hardest event for you to tier?
Artist? Probably Prismatic, honestly, like,
Mm.
that was so mostly because like, I think the playing hours alone, they were, like, okay,
Hmm.
but it's just, like, I had so much to do, like during the event because I had to like work through it, and then I don't know what was going on with like my hallucinations, and I don't even know what was going on with me that event. I was just like very emotionally like unstable. I felt so bad for Pastry because he was T1, but it was like I kept having to get him to like take care of me like I was the T1 and he wasn't even T3. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with me. And he was like, it's okay. I had like I get to sleep, so it's okay. And I'm like, stop talking
It was
about your sleep,
true.
please.
It was true.
Yeah.
I really was okay for most of the event.
Okay, that's
Yeah, I had to
good.
get him to like wake me up and like set alarms, and I'd be like, I don't think I can wake up. And he was like, I'll wake you up. I'm like, but you have to play. You have to sleep. And he's like, I'll wake you up. And I'm like, no.
Again, just shows how good it is to have support to help you throughout your journey for sure, right? Just to get that emotional and actually like like the sort of the physical support of getting someone to actually just wake you up, just like go wake up, like on VC or just by phone, right? Just be like wake up and then start playing. So, yeah, it's definitely definitely good for sure. And I was just gonna mention as well, like this event wasn't necessarily short either. It was still like an 8-day event. It was a normal event standard day, so it was definitely not easy. I imagine again though, as it goes to the 10-day event, like devotedly, the 12-day, have a good Halloween. That was, I guess, also challenging in its own right when you have to tier for so long. And maybe not necessarily have a good Halloween because I know like the event kind of settled down quite early, but for devotedly for sure, you were playing like pretty much like every time, like all the way to the end almost.
Yeah,
With such a long event.
I think I only stopped because I was like, I don't want to play this event anymore. And I just like, I think I stopped like on the last day, maybe like 12 hours left. I don't know. I don't actually remember the exact time, but I was like, I don't want to play this event anymore. And I just like DM Sprite. I was like, hello, hi, yes, I'm the T2. Can we like, does Skitter want like T2 or like, can we settle? I'm not trying to get T1, so I don't want to play this game. Is it okay if we just like stop? And they were like, oh my, yeah, let me talk to Skitter. And I was like, okay, I don't want to play.
Me being in the other server in that time, I think it was a very mutual agreement that no one wanted to play anymore. But
No,
it was
but
just
I only,
yeah.
I think I slept like, I just like passed out after like the last time I played, and they just like let me sleep, and then they woke me up in an urgency, and they were like, Skitter's like moving, and I'm like, did I moving? And I was like, I had to wake up and I had to play it. I was like, why are they moving? And then because Skitter was playing, EG was like, don't worry, I'll play it. I was like, with you, and I'll just room with you. I'm like, okay. So then we would play, and then because EG is moving, Skitter would have to keep moving. And then because Skitter's moving, I have to keep moving. And then because I'm moving, Spread has to keep moving. And I was like, why are we all moving? This is useless. Like, even if we all play until the end, the ranks aren't gonna change. Why are we still playing?
Yeah, it was a very interesting event. Cue the that one emoji with Hina burning all the stars. That was the one, that was what I felt like the entire time when I saw like the development as it went. So but yeah, again, a lot of difficult events that you persevered through despite what happened. So good stuff to you, Emi.
You know what's kind of funny is I actually think Prismatic being 8 days worked in our favor because because if it had been like a normal or I guess the new normal event standard of like 5 to 6 days, I actually don't think you would have had enough time to catch up. But because it was 8 days, we had like more days where you didn't have work that you could just play all the way through to like catch up and build some new groundwork, build new ground. But
Yeah.
so in a weird sense, it being 8 days actually kind of worked in our favor and gave you a chance to actually get T2.
Well, bless their little small technicality of like trying to make sure the event doesn't end on a weekend, right? So small blessings there. So
Yeah.
yeah. Pastry, going back to the original question, your thoughts about how you're gonna approach your plans as you continue that goal towards getting the most amount of what was it, podiums, right? We talked about this last time. Was it podiums or
That is actually casters' goal for most podiums.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be tiering so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still thinking about it and whether I want to do more events in the future. But for right now, I don't actually really have anything planned from an event tiering perspective. I actually wanted to switch more into song tiering.
Okay.
Because I think event tiering is like not necessarily it's pretty time consuming. You don't really have a choice but to like play like a lot for event tiering.
Mm-hmm.
And so at least for me, it's getting harder and harder to like have to take time off and find time to like set aside for playing so much when I would rather take that time to do other stuff. Like I would want to use my time off for like going on vacation or whatnot. But song tiering, you don't really have to worry about that. You can just roll for the team and then play when you get a chance. And it's even almost more beneficial to just play at your own leisure instead of trying to like play too much and end up burning yourself out. So I definitely want to just switch more into song tiering. So from that perspective, the event ordering doesn't necessarily matter that much. It's just more of a matter of how is it going to affect my optimal team or not.
Yeah, basically. How quickly can you grab that optimal team and such? And of course, if like events get out of order, like for instance, this current Dreamfest event that's getting delayed, right? That could bring some people a little out of order in terms of like trying to get the cards they want, but in time. But that's the reality of us having to deal with with ENdori and their current struggles. But lights at the end of the tunnel with that Ojo Majo game leak. So maybe the event, the version will be coming out soon, but then things will kind of go back to normal. But we'll see how things
go. I think also just in general though, it's a lot harder to plan for events when you don't really know what's going to be coming. And I know theoretically we should be coming back to normal within like the next few months, but at least for me, I'd want to give it some time and see how things go for the next few months as well, because I think at this point my trust in Bushi to bring events at the right time is non-existent, and so it would have to take some time for that trust to be rebuilt before I can decide, if I want to do any more events. Because there's definitely things that I would definitely want to do if they did show up. Like for example, I guess you can technically say Prismatic is a Sayo banner, but I think I still think that if there's ever like another solo Sayo banner, I would like to do that. Or if there's ever, like certain dream events that I have, I would like to do those too. But for now, I don't really have anything in the pipeline. Not to cross, but I don't want to like close the door on that forever, because I'm pretty sure that there will definitely be something at some point eventually that makes me want to come back.
For sure.
It's one of the things where it's kind of I'm just gonna have to wait and see how I feel when it comes to it.
Yep. As the old saying goes, you always retire more than once. So yeah. So before we quick wrap up the podcast, I just want to go into one more interesting detail. Emi, I know other than Bandori, and you already mentioned this briefly with your friends, doing PJ Sekai tiering at the time, but you yourself also tiered in PJ Sekai and had a couple of really amazing titles as well, including a top 20, which is absolutely, I think, crazy. But can you share a little bit more about your experiences tiering in Project Sekai and how that is compared to Bandori tiering?
Okay, for first things, Project Sekai is like a lot more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
just in terms of like you need the gotcha. Like I know they changed things now so that you definitely have to roll, but even then, as the events were coming out, because you didn't have that many cards, you would have to roll the gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not only like you have to roll a gotcha, you have to prepare like beforehand that you have to so many dupes. So you have to skill level the cards and with like the dupe nodes, and then you have to MR the cards to have even more band power. In terms of the hours played, it's also a lot more. Like I think my T20, even though it was, even though it wasn't like super, it wasn't like super active. I think it was just like okay, like in the middle average. Like I think I still played more than I played and like devotedly for that title.
Mm.
Um, and I think it was actually a cheerful carnival. So I think I actually my wallet got the better side of things
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think when I talked to Ichi, he has like a T50 in the early events, and I was telling him how much I spent, and he was like, "Oh my god, like how did you spend like the around like the same amount as me and still end up with the T20?" So I think cheerful carnivals are like cheaper still,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that game in general is just pretty like a lot more expensive, and you have to play a lot more hours. But I do like the titles a lot. Like I like the titles more than I like ENdori's titles, just because they put in. I feel like they just put in a lot more effort. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
with ENdori, they for their titles they just take like a card. I think the
Mm-hmm.
untrained card or trained card. I'm not too familiar, and they just stick like a title on. In Project Sekai, they make their own backgrounds. Like it's not from like a card at all. They just make it, and it's really pretty. I don't know the T20. I'm like super proud of that T20, and I think also you don't need a tiering server for it because Project Sekai tiering. I don't think it's going to be the same thing for like Project Sekai probably, but in JP we mostly just use Twitter rooms, and you can actually get like T10s with Twitter rooms too if you just play the whole way through. Well, it depends on the event, I guess. Like depends on because I think with um 25G you probably can't get away with Twitter rooms unless it's like deader than usual, kind of. But you can get away with just like Twitter rooming, and Twitter rooming is really convenient unless they
Mm-hmm.
kick you out. But they do kick you out, like, with it because boosting is really hard. It's really like, I think in ENdori, you just fill, like, you
Mm-hmm.
can doormat, like, your Wi-Fi doesn't really matter, like, too much unless it's, like, super competitive, and your team doesn't matter. But your team in Project Sekai matters, like, a lot for filling. Like, for my T20, I had to get, like, Zia and Levi to, like, bring in their boost teams, so, like, everyone who filled had to bring in like a boost team when I was figuring out like a 5-man room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and there's this thing where if you join a Twitter room and then you outscore the booster, then they'll kick you out, and because like they won't say anything either. Like they'll all just like leave randomly, and you'll be like, well, now I'm kicked out.
Well, I made a
Uh,
mistake.
yeah, like, oh, okay, well, what now? Now I have to find another room. And sometimes they have really dead hours. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
EST would probably be like 2 p.m., maybe 2 p.m. to like 6 p.m. or so, where there are literally no rooms, and then they just kick you out anyway. So
Yep, that's very, very, very interesting life. Tiering in Sekai. Again, I'm not too familiar with personally. I just know that it is a
Mhm.
bit more. It's obviously a lot more competitive because playing against Japanese players in the server is quite crazy. There's definitely some big gorilla players over there, and of course,
Yeah,
the expenses, the whaleness as well. So. It's quite something. But yeah, I think as well with PJ Sekai, especially because it's a Japanese server. It is the first one. I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball question to you, but you actually also technically don't really know what event's coming up, but
mhm.
when you see an event, you're like, oh, I want to tier for it. You kind of go for it, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
There are some leaks. Like
mm,
if you follow like the right accounts, like they'll somehow, I don't know how, but they'll somehow like data mine or find out like what exactly. So you do have like some kind of idea. Like I know this current event, the Honami event, we didn't know exactly about it, but we knew it was like coming eventually. Like we knew like around the same time frame. And I know like people who run for like T1, they actually do make the server like beforehand. Like they just don't have the exact dates.
Yeah.
So like they do know like somewhat of it.
Well, that's pretty interesting. So again, Project Sekai is definitely another big tiering community and another really fun rhythm game as well that many people have been playing. And I guess one more question is, if you were to bring one thing from Project Sekai into like something that you like about it into Bandori, like what would that be? It could be anything. It could be like it could be just what you said before, like make the titles prettier, or something else, like maybe like a game mechanic. What would that be?
I don't know because Project Sekai has a lot of things that I like about it. Like I really like the there's a costumes feature that you can just dress them up in, and then you can like make a if you play like just a 3D MV, you have like the little sprites playing in their like little like their costumes, and it's really cute. And I really like it. So maybe something like that would be cool. But I don't know if they could ever actually do it.
Yeah. That'd be a pretty big resource hog. But like I do also like I don't play it like religiously. I play it from time to time, but every time they have those like little MVs, you have like those little mini concerts, and you have the chibis going in, and
Yeah, it's
I
really
it's really
cute.
fun. It's really cute.
Like
For
for
sure.
Saki's birthday, like I just pulled like 5 people and we just had like Saki cards. So then when we recorded the MV, it was just like the Leonid band setting, but like instead of the Leonid members, it was just all Saki, like Saki on the guitar, Saki on the bass, Saki on the drums. It was so nice.
Saki Nation for sure. So
Exactly.
and
Oh,
we would all know that Saki
And
is
they
your
would all be
favorite.
like in different costumes too. And they would be like, oh, like Saki in her first like Stella outfit over here, like playing the bass. And I think what we found during the birthday, like when I was doing the birthday live, was that all of us have like different, I think it was all of us have different Sakis and so like they would see like my Saki on the drums, but I would see my Saki on the bass or something. And it would be like so weird. I'd be like, look, I'm on the drums, and they'd be like, no, you're on the bass. And I'm like, what?
It's
oh,
pretty interesting. Oh, sorry, you're
you
gonna
know
add?
what actually, I think would be cool to bring from Sekai to Bandori?
Mhm.
Oh, I have two things that I would like to see.
Sure.
First, the fact that Sekai actually lists like the entire rankings down to like T100.
Oh, yeah.
That is that is super nice and something that I would love to see in Bandry. And then the other thing I would like is the Project Sekai like profiles.
Oh, yeah, because you
Yes.
can make your own profiles. Like, they're really nice.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think I remember like seeing a couple of like the profiles that people made, like our friends did, and I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool! Why can't we have this in
Yeah,
Bandry? That would be
I
so
know
nice."
I know Sue made, like, Mizu and, like, one of their, like, cover songs, like, into their profile, and it was really cool. Oh, I also think that, like, Project Sekai has, like, an automated system where they, like, if someone hits above like, I think an impossible score, they'll, like, immediately catch it, and they'll just warn the entire room, like, "There's a hacker in your room," or something.
Oh man.
And I'm like, "Maybe we should bring that into Bandori."
I think Bandry does have something like that already in place. It's just that the limitations that they have set on it are so high that it's like functionally useless.
Mm.
So
Well,
I do remember when the first Team Life came to Bandry and JP, they actually had the auto banning feature that Sekai does, except they had a problem with it where they used the score limit that Sekai has for to tell if people were like hacking or not. But the problem is that the scoring in Sekai and the scoring in Bandori is different. So scores that were impossible in Sekai were possible in Bandori, but people were still getting flagged as like hacking because of it. kind of
Crazy.
interesting.
Crazy.
People could like naturally hit. I think because I think the limit was 3 mil in
Mhm.
Sekai or something
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
like 3 point something.
and then like there were people in Bandori who could hit like 3.3 mil on A2s legitimately, and getting flagged by the automated like cheat detection.
It's crazy, and it also shows that it's like, well, if Bandori could also already grab stuff from Sekai, like look at all the things we've listed that he could grab, right?
Right.
So, big pensive.
I'm just
Bushiro,
saying. I'm
yeah,
just saying.
Bushiro, listen. We'll maybe hear some of these suggestions. Maybe you'll be able to implement it, and maybe refund Emi's G from a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, please refund it. Like I could really use it. And like I don't even think I'm the first person that happened to. Like I think I want wow. It was Ashley, I think we would do it ourselves and we were talking. I was like, that happened to me. And they were like, that happened to you. Did you get your G back? And I was like, no. And they were like, oh no. It's pretty common actually. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah. Well, again, hopefully Bushiro will continuously try to improve the game. Of course, JPdori has some really interesting mechanics they're adding and their new features that I think are really appreciative. It's obviously a matter of whether or not how the worldwide server will implement it into the game later. But yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully things will improve here. So
Fingers crossed. I actually am looking forward to doing medley lives.
yeah,
The team lives are like they're interesting, but the randomly selected songs
it's pretty
I
chaotic.
could see it being like, yeah, I could see it being like pretty like annoying because it's like you're taking the problem of verses where you're like reliant on other people, where it's like relying on other people still, and then you still have to worry about that in context of having to worry about another 5 people on top of that too. And it's just kind of like this like weird incentive where you both want to outscore the people in your room, but also as a room outscore the other team.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird dynamic, but
Mhm.
with Medley Lives, I feel like it would just be fun to be if totally in control of what you want to do the entire time without actually having to rely on a tiering server at all.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where like you don't have to prep in advance for it, and you can just decide day of even, oh, I want to tier this. I don't have to worry about setting up a server or anything for it. I can just play.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that's
First,
that's something that I'm really interested in.
I think it's
whoever could.
supposed to be familiar. I think it's supposed to be similar to D4DJ, right? They have
Yeah,
medley
yeah.
lives.
Deeper DJ has the
Well,
same thing.
yeah, I think so. Their medley lives, I think I'm not sure how similar they are, but they do have medley lives as events. I guess it's just again testing whoever can menu faster. So menuing skills. I'm sure Pastry, you have very fast menuing skills, so maybe you'll do well.
Pastry's super fast.
I mean, Emi's pretty fast too. I'm just saying.
I'm not that fast. I think my
You're
internet
pretty
slows me
fast.
down. I think
You're
my
pretty
internet slows
fast.
me down though. Like my refilling's pretty slow, I think.
We need to one day do like a time trial, get a whole bunch of people to see how quickly they could they could time trial like refills, see how quickly they could do that. But
I think
anyway,
it's.
oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Oh, I was gonna say. I think in terms of like actual in-room menuing,
Yeah.
I'm probably like we're around as fast as you can really be without. We're at the point where our menuing speed is less limited by ourselves and more limited by device. But if it comes to refilling, I'm pretty sure. I think I'm probably one of the best or
Okay.
fastest refillers.
It's because you use like 2 fingers. Like I don't know how you do it. I tried doing like the video that Pastry has up. That's like
Yeah.
the tiering servers now. Like I can't do it. Like I just don't know where to place like my finger that it like hits the right button. So I end up just using 1 finger and going really fast. It's not fast enough.
It's an art. It's a technique. It's a skill. Say what you need, but yeah, it's gonna be it's interesting because again, like refill, like as you mentioned, Pastry. It's like it is kind of hampered by now, like kind of I guess moderated by just the fact of what device you have and hopefully what kind of internet connection you have and how good your internet is compared to the worldwide server, because there's some countries, I think, from what I heard, that if you're just from this country, the worldwide server is just like, you know what, we're just not gonna make life easy for you with loading times. So that's
You know what I really want? I really want them to implement refilling like in the room. Like I do not want to exit the room. Like in Sekai, you can just like refill in the room, like while the song selection's going on, and you just like tap really fast. Like I think Pastry was saying, like telling me before, like you could at the end, like with the flame refilling, or like
Yeah, you used to be able to just
yeah.
refill from rooms with
Why
flame.
can't
with
we
flame
do
check
that
on.
anymore?
I don't know why they took it out.
Please.
I think there was like an issue where like I think it was a change that was made with casual players in mind, because you couldn't necessarily see how many flames you had refilled when you were doing that. You would literally just be like, you tap and you add 10, and then you tap and you add 10, and you tap and you add 10. At some point, it's just like, oh, you're gonna go over the limit. You can't refill anymore, and that's when you knew when to stop. But but I can imagine a situation where if you're a casual player, you don't realize that it goes through, so you just keep adding more flames more than you would like mean to, and then you're just like, oh well, now I'm down like 900 stars when I only wanted to use like 100 stars for 10 flames. So it might be a change that they did in like that, with that in mind. But even then, I still feel like there's like a better solution for it than what we currently have.
You could take Sekai's code and let us refill in the room.
I love how when we talked about name one thing and we already named like at least 5. Crazy. We're gonna wrap up the episode today, but before we wrap up, I just want to have you two answer the question we got from our Filler Nation members, and that is, who is the bigger whale? So maybe I'll give you guys 30 seconds to a minute to say or to convince the viewers why you think the other person is the bigger whale.
Well, I am totally free to play. I have not spent a dime on this game, so it's definitely Emi. You know, she literally is just talking about how she spent $100, and you know, 100 is bigger
I didn't
than 0.
spend 100. I lost $100. What's wrong with you?
You
I
still put
lost
$100
it.
into the game, therefore
You
that's
spend
spending
$100 on the game. Pastry is the bigger whale because he just wails on like everything. He just wails on every banner. Also, he song tiers and I don't song tier, so.
Well,
both of you have
song tiers. Both of you have song
titles. Tiering is more expensive. Yes, because he has like a T1. He has 2 T1s, and he also has like a bunch of podiums. I have like measly 3. And he has like more cards than me too. So, and his luck is bad, so this means that he gotcha'd more.
Wow, way to add salt to the wound. Bad gacha luck.
No, his luck is so bad. Like, I'm so sorry. Basically, like when I was rolling, I think, do you have O-Tire? I don't remember what I was rolling for. I was like, wow, my rolls are pretty good. How did yours go? He posted his, and it was like every roll was a min roll, a 3-star. And I was like, isn't this supposed to be a DF? Like, I'm so sorry. Like, how did you end up with this?
Yeah, for context, okay. I think over the course of this year on non-Dreamfest banners, my 4-star pull rate is around 1.2%, and my Dreamfest pull rate is about 2%.
Yikes.
I have gone from 0 to like 250 multiple times without a single 4-star. It's really bad. It's really bad.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well, I think regardless, the fact that both of you have multiple podiums, multiple song titles, I think, you know, there's a little bit of whale in everyone in this in this room here. So, but that will conclude the episode. Any last shout outs or words you would like to say to the viewers? Either of you could say anything. We'll start with.
Let's say, well, first of all, thank you, Phil, for having us on the show again. I know it's like my third time at least, but it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on, and I really enjoy getting to explore all these different topics with you and talk about all these different moments. And luckily, there's always something to talk about because I'm always doing stuff.
There's all, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, but it's always nice to be able to discuss this in like a more public space and see how people feel about the things that I do and be able to like talk about all of my opinions on different matters and just in general it's nice to have this kind of environment where we can have these sort of discussions and be open about all these different topics and I think I mentioned before that I do really enjoy listening to the podcast and going through these and getting to hear from all these different people in the community. So, just in general, I really enjoy everything about the podcast series, and I'm grateful to have been invited for a third time.
Well, thank you for your kind words, Pastry.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. And yeah, it's pretty nice because I'm pretty quiet, so I don't really talk a lot. So it's really nice to have like both you and Pastry just like direct the conversation a little.
And then maybe vent a few times as well. But it's really there's a lot of like really interesting stories that came out. Like some of them I've heard before, others I haven't. So it's like again, it's always nice to just have these stories and experiences shared and have people learn about it and just be like, oh, well, that was an interesting experience. So yeah.
Honestly, there's still so much we could have talked about too. Like I think we didn't even go into like that much depth on Prismatic. Like we didn't talk. We could have talked about like Cinna's T3 snipe at the end, or like Emi's experience with hallucinations.
Oh my god!
no!
Those hallucinations were really weird.
What?
It was like I was working during the event, right? So I think that had some kind of thing to do with my hallucinations because I kept like hallucinating that I was working, but not in my regular workspace. I think the first time I was like hallucinating that I was working in like a medical office typing letters up for the doctors, and the second time I was hallucinating that I was like in a grocery store unpacking boxes for some reason. It was really weird.
It was honestly
kind of scary.
such a weird experience because I remember you were like just saying like, why are we splitting up all these boxes? I'm just like, what boxes are you talking about? It's like the boxes on the screen. I was like, what boxes?
It didn't make any sense either because it was right after like I got feature blocked for an hour, so I went to go lie down for an hour and sleep, and I just woke up and I started hallucinating, and I was like, why are we putting all these boxes? It's like one A2 is one box, and Pastry was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, these boxes, like we just have all these boxes, like what about this magazine? And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay. I was like these boxes, like what are we doing? Like why are we just here? And he was like, okay, tell me where these boxes are. And I was like, oh, this magazine, like this A2s, like where am I supposed to put this? And he was like, tell me exactly where the box is. I'm like, it's in like the bottom. And he was like, no, tell me exactly where. I'm like, it's like at the bottom left on my feet. And I looked down and I was like, there's no box. I'm hallucinating.
It was an interesting experience to say the least.
I don't know what else to say.
All-time commentary. On all-time commentary, I just remember you being like, what are we even doing right now? I was like, I'm just like, we're playing A2s, and Emi was like, so we're putting one A2s per box, and I'm just like, what? What are you talking about?
It was really, yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I think, Phil, it was just good that you weren't listening in on. Like,
I did not listen to some. It was probably really late at night, and I was probably not up.
I think it was like 3 a.m. and I was just like crying with Pastry, and I was like, what are we doing? And then like every few often I would be like, are we still playing A2s? And he was like, yes, we are still playing A2s. And like a few seconds later, I was like, are we still playing? Is this A2s? Are we playing A2s? And he was like, yes.
Well, that just made maybe people who are new to Tyrion maybe be like, "Ooh, that sounds a little scary. I don't know if I want to experience that. I don't know."
I think
It's
when I saw Castor's like tweet on like how he was like warning people like, oh, like you should be afraid of hallucinating. Like when I looked at it, I was like, oh, you know what? Like maybe one day I want to try playing as hard as I can to see if I can hallucinate. That was no. I'm like looking back at myself. I'm like, no. I'm like bonking myself. Like, you do not want to experience. Like, do not. Like, don't ever say that to me again.
Hmm.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't recommend
Yeah, don't
hallucinations.
want to. Don't say that. Like, just oh my god, I was on something.
Well noted. Well noted life advice. Don't do any sort of drugs that will cause hallucinations, and of course, that drug includes playing A to Z for like I don't know who knows how long. But anyway, again, thank you both of you for taking the time to join us in the podcast today. And again, it was great to hear so much from you two. And of course, for those listening, feel free to again. Check out the website, check out the Discord server if you want to learn more about the podcast series and be able to suggest special guests for next time. But until then, the set has been complete. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listening. It's your host, SB4, and the RePHIL Studio will be back next time. But until then, take care and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.